Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another round of sound. This is the #1 Cochran Sports Showdown. I'm Bob Pompeani, your ringmaster, and we have a lot to get into tonight right here. We'll talk about, #1, the Steelers and what they're dealing with now. Franchise tags are due. The CBA is being voted on. There's a lot going on there. But the #1 topic tonight on the #1 Cochran Sports Showdown will be the Penguins, who now have lost 8 of 10 and got waxed twice at home this week. Similar problems in both games. And here's to discuss all of that with you is your panel from left to right. We have Andrew Fillipponi from the PM show every day on the Fan 2 to 6. In the middle is Ron Cook, also from the Fan midday show, the Cook and Joe show. And to the right, and with the Post-Gazette as well, to the right from the Athletic, it is Mr. Mark Kaboly. Let's get into the goaltending issue #1, because even though I do not blame a lot of this on goaltenders this weekend, we put a lot of debate into which goalie should get the job. Ron, I'll start with you on this one. Did you see anything from these two guys that makes you think the rotation should end at this point?
No, I really didn't. I didn't see one guy take control of the job. I know Murray was really good in the game against Buffalo last week, but I didn't think he was so terrific yesterday, even though he didn't have much help in front of him. I didn't think Jari was very good today. It's a concern. The goaltending has dropped off just as the team's performance has, but I don't think it's their biggest priority right now. They got to figure out a way to play a little better defense, which they did earlier in the season.
Well, if we're going to stay on the topic of goaltending, Bob,
yes, please.
I still feel like if I'm going to have to force to pick one, I'm still going to go with Matt Murray because, this weekend was terrible, but at least I saw signs of life from him. And I still think he gets the benefit of the doubt because in high-pressurized situations in the run-up to the playoffs and the postseason, he's gotten it done before. So we're not talking about a chasm, a Grand Canyon between both guys. But if I had to pick one, I'd still go Murray.
Yeah, I think it's going to have to. I think it's going to ultimately be Murray. But Jari, man, he struggled over the past, week or two, lost 4 in a row. And you think when the Penguins made their big run in January, he was pretty much flawless. I was a big, firm believer of, hey, you have to make one choice going into the playoffs. There's too many days off. You can't have multiple goaltenders. I'm starting to wonder, maybe they should keep this rotation going through the playoffs, maybe the first round, to see what happens.
I don't agree with that, Mark, but everybody seems to want to rush them into doing it right now, and I don't know that they have to do that right now. I still tend to think these things tend to work out themselves. I want one guy, the hottest guy going into the playoffs, and give him a chance to stay hot.
The question, Ron, is how does a guy get hot, right? I mean, so many goaltenders, so many athletes, whether it's a running back in football or whether it's a goaltender, say they need to see shots, they need work. That's how they get in the zone. And if you go back and forth and alternate, I think it's hard to do that. So what you don't want, Bob, is I don't want last March where Murray played 16 of the final 17 games and then might have been gassed by the time he got to the playoffs. But I also don't think a 50-50 split is the right way.
Well, I would look back at that and say he was good in March, and the only reason he failed the playoffs because the team stunk in front of him, which is what's happening right now. That's the next item I want to get into. Ron, it seems to me that for whatever reason, when this team gets totally healthy, when they have all their stars in place, they play worse than they do without their stars. And it seems like they're guilty of doing the same thing. That is being too concerned about making highlight moves, whether that's on a man advantage. We saw that this weekend. Their power play stunk again. How do you look at that situation? How do you change it? Because Mike Sullivan, I'm sure, has tried time and time again.
Yeah, there's no doubt he's tried. I don't know. I have no explanation for it. Malkin talked about this at length yesterday, saying we think it's too easy when we have everybody back, and it's not that easy. But it's so funny, the fine line in this game, to quote Bill Cowher. Who was it? Rodriguez hit the post.
Evan on
then he takes an immediate penalty, and they give up a shorthanded goal. So instead, a power play goal. So instead of scoring a goal to go ahead more, they give up one. It's a fine line. I'm not writing them off yet, but they're not playing well in front of the goaltender. 16 turnovers today. The giveaways that they had.
That was through 2 periods.
16, yeah, and it was 16-2 through 2 periods. They're not playing well. Maybe is it taking Dumoulin a little while to get back, Marino a little while to get back? I don't think Schultz has been very good, and I don't think Letang has been very good.
Well, on that note, I'll follow up on that, Ron. I mean, if you're Chris Letang, how do you feel that the power play stinks and you're not on the top unit today?
Especially when the other guy hasn't had Schultz hasn't had a goal in like 152 games. Power play.
I'm totally flabbergasted by that. Schultz went 20 games without a point. He's lucky to even be in the lineup right now. I think there's a very solid case to be made, guys, that Chad Ruedel should be in for him. I don't know what Schultz is bringing to the table, and yet, maybe one of the most precious jobs in sports. Everybody would be jealous to be the quarterback of the Penguins power play with guys like Sidney Crosby and Evgeny Malkin at your disposal. So I'm shocked by that Mike Sullivan went to that option. And, Bob, Letang's a very prideful guy. I can't imagine that sat well with him today.
No, I think he was pretty angered, Mark, and that's the thing. Now you have a situation where too many turnovers, too many mistakes in the power play, too much creativity, not enough just hit the net and crash the net. They did that yesterday 5-on-3. They didn't take advantage of it. Today they did, but then after that, man, they've been undefeated when they get 7 power play chances in a game. Today they were 1 for 7, Mark, and when they don't score on a power play, they're in big trouble.
And it was a 5-on-3, Bob.
Yeah.
That's what I mean.
The
Only
goal
one.
they got was 5-on-3.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, they get a little bit too cute, and that's what it is. And what I think we're missing the elephant in the room here is, okay, Sullivan wants them to play a certain way. Why aren't they playing this way? I mean, we start holding somebody accountable for
so who would
this.
you
Well,
hold
I think he's
accountable,
holding Letang accountable. I think
That's
that's
great.
a big
That's
part of it.
great.
I have no problem with that. Now, I don't know if Schultz is the answer. I don't think he's played very well either, but it looks to me like he is holding Letang accountable to a degree.
And that should exactly what happened moving forward as well. Keep holding these guys accountable until you play what you want to do, how you want to play. But that gets tricky at times. How can you hold accountable your star players? It's a very tricky situation to be able to do that,
Bob,
and be able to keep the team intact.
I'll say this. I thought the West Coast trip, you could write that off to time zone change. They're without Dumoulin and John Marino. It's, the dog days of the season. This weekend's a lot more troubling to me because I don't really know what their excuse is. One thing to lose, but they got their butts kicked this weekend. I didn't really think the effort was there in the first game especially. I thought they came out flat against Washington, and I can't really
Especially in that third period today, Andrew. I mean, you had that game, you played very well in the first period, second period not as well. You had that game in front of you right there to come out and win, and they just absolutely crapped the bed again here in the third period and just looked like they didn't even want to be.
Well, it actually started at the end of the second period when they gave up the 2 goals to go from 2-1 up to 3-2 down. They got some issues right now. I'm a big believer in Sullivan. I do think he's a terrific coach. And if anybody can figure it out, then with he and Crosby, I'll take my chances.
Yeah, I agree with that, but I look at the third period. They did not win puck battles. I went back and looked at the tape, Andrew. What I saw was Carolina was more motivated to get to empty pucks. And there's no excuse because they played yesterday afternoon. They had to travel here, too. So when you don't win individual puck battles and you're not physical enough to win those, that to me is either number one, you're not equipped to do it, or number two, you're not motivated enough to do it. And I think it falls on the latter part of that. I don't think they were motivated to do it today for some reason.
I think they're a little bit of an arrogant team, too. I mean, I think Sullivan got to that point. He beat around the bush today saying what he did there in his press conference. But to be able to try to say it's going to take a team effort and we're not putting that team effort
Mark,
together.
I was a little bit surprised, and Ron was there, but did Sullivan come across like he really wanted to beat this team up? Because the quotes that I saw, I did not get that impression that he was that hard
he
on
wouldn't talk about what he told them direct, and then he sort of did, saying, hey, the answers are inside of this room. He's not happy with how they're playing, there's no doubt, but I don't think it's just this weekend or just this 10 games. Really, you could go back, the All-Star break, their week off. I don't think they've played nearly with the defensive conscience that they had then, and he pointed out, he took the responsibility 2 different times. It's up to me to turn it around. Again, I have a lot of faith in him. Maybe it'll be misguided.
All right, we'll find out. They got a busy week. They have 3 on the road in a row. All division teams, metro teams, conference teams down the road. I mean, it's going to be interesting, and they could very easily fall out. I don't think this will happen. And I said last week, I still think they're going to be in it. It's just a matter of where they position themselves. But there are teams creeping up on them. We'll see how it goes this week, beginning with the Devils on Tuesday night. And then they have back-to-back games again on the weekend, one on the road at Carolina Saturday and one here at home against the Islanders, a team which is doing their best to stay alive as well, so it won't be easy. Meantime, it's exciting when a team moves into a new building. That's certainly true with the team at number 1 Cochran Hyundai South Hills and their spacious new facility, even though they moved only a mile up the street. Right now, for a limited time, get special grand opening offers in both sales and service. It's the new number 1 Cochran Hyundai South Hills, now conveniently located at 3220 West Liberty Avenue. Steelers, CBA, franchise tag, all next. The number 1 Cochran Sports Showdown is brought to you by number 1 Cochran. Go one better. And by Highmark Blue Cross Blue Shield. Have a greater hand in your health.